We're still working on numbers.
And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 0. 80.
Nice. Hey folks, and welcome back to Around Our World in 80. Ta-da! Ta-da! So this week was Pinocchio.
Long nose.
Long nose. So just a little bit of a history behind Pinocchio. So it was the second movie that they made that was a feature film animation. And they basically... Number 2.
Not working.
Not working. And it basically was like the unintentional sequel to Snow White. So, you know, everybody says that the sequel isn't quite as good as the original. And that was how it was accepted in the box office. It didn't do nearly as well as Snow White did. They took the $2 million in profits that they made from Snow White and they put it into Pinocchio, but they actually ended up losing money despite the incredible critics ratings that they got. And people say that it was probably mostly because of World War II. And so because Disney and Disney Productions and Disney Studios, whatever it was called back then, wasn't able to get their international audience and their international distributions, they actually suffered a $1 million loss on Pinocchio. The biggest re-release was in the 90s when they remastered it for VHS. Ooh. I remember we had a VHS of it. Did y'all? That's the history behind Pinocchio.
We might not have had strings to hold us down, but we definitely had VHS tape reel holding us back.
We had one of those specific machines that rewound the VHS really, really fast. Did y'all have that?
We just had a VCR that you hit rewind.
Oh, no, we had like the super fast rewind machine, so it took only a few minutes.
And it's probably still in your dad's attic somewhere.
What did you think of Pinocchio?
It's a good no strings attached movie.
No, seriously, what did you think of it?
It's good. I mean, it's a little weird.
How so?
It's a wooden puppet turned into a little boy, and little boys turned into donkeys.
Yes. We talked about over the week how overt they were about like morality and what you should and should not do.
Reagan, be good or you'll be turned into a donkey.
Exactly. So yes, it was a little weird. And there's a lot of the movie that I forgot. Like I remember that there was a whale. I remembered that there was the donkeys. I remembered that, he turns into a real boy. I remember the blue fairy. But they were very little snippets that I remembered, and I didn't remember the overarching story like at all.
Also, Jiminy Cricket is magic.
Yes, he is.
Because he can yell quiet and a bunch of cuckoo clocks will obey him.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very strange superpower.
I also forgot that Jiminy Cricket started out as a hobo. Like at the very beginning of the film, he has hobo clothes on, and when he becomes the conscience, he gets spiffed up clothes. And it's kind of an interesting redemption story with Jiminy Cricket as well, because he ends up getting the badge of conscience. Spoiler.
You haven't seen it by now.
You've had what?
You
70
had 90
years?
something years.
But yeah, so I
Whatever.
thought the story of Jiminy Cricket was just as fascinating as the story of Pinocchio. Tell the good people at home what we decided to do for our family activity this week.
We went fishing.
Yay!
And not catching, just fishing.
Which I thought when we were putting this list together, I thought this was going to be kind of a reach, but I was pleasantly surprised that they actually do fish in Pinocchio.
Yes, that's why I suggested it.
I thought it was just had to do something with a whale, but no,
that's
they
how
like legitimately
that's how he was
fish.
surviving in the whale. He would wait for the whale to eat, and then he would eat what the whale ate.
/ate. Okie dokie. So, we are about to go fishing, which is very exciting. I've got my backpack of stuff with like knitting and hammock and blankets in it, and my water bottle. I've got baby stuff in her bag, and then Jared is getting his stuff packed. for actual fishing. Alright, so we made it to the park, and you'll see our tiny lake behind me, but it's beautiful. It's a gorgeous day. Baby girl is going to sleep. Duchess is exploring. So Jared is definitely the expert when it comes to fishing in this family.
In this family, yes. Expert, no.
In this family, yeah. What do we got going on?
Trying to put weight on this so it's easier to cast. And so it sinks better.
Jared caught something!
It's not Jumbo or whatever the whale's name is.
Monstro.
Monstro, but it is technically a fish.
Yay!
Maybe one of the smallest fish ever on record.
So you did a lot of the prep work when it came to getting us to fishing.
That's correct. That Jerry did
All
the
prep
prep work.
I got the baby there, okay? But if people are watching this at home and maybe they've wanted to get like into fishing, but they don't want to spend all the money associated with like the good reels or the good lures, like what would people need that would be a good starting point for an amateur fishery?
Buy a goldfish. You don't have to worry about buying all this stuff. And you have a 1-to-1 success rate.
You're so ridiculous.
Goldfish.
No, but seriously, if people were wanting to do this with their families, like, what would you suggest?
I mean, they have little starter kits you can get at like Academy and stuff that aren't real expensive. And I didn't catch anything really on it this time, but last time I went fishing was when we were camping, and I caught a bunch of really itty bitty little tiny perch. I did buy a few extra lures, but it was like $30 in total, if that, for the rod, the reel, and all the lures and everything, and ended up catching a pretty nice little striped bass when we were out at that lake.
Yeah.
On it, and that was even on a not so good part of the day to be fishing, so
Yeah.
it didn't take a whole lot.
And just check your local like parks if you need a fishing license. If you actually want to like.
If you're in Texas, you need a fishing license any time you're over 17.
There you go. Like 17 years of age.
Yep.
Okay. So that's what it is in Texas. Don't know where it is for y'all, but
So Reagan, you can fish for free.
Yay! But we've kind of tried to put lists together, things to do that, you know, we try, and then if we really like it, we try to incorporate it as a family for long term. And I think Reagan agrees that this is one of those things that we want to try to incorporate long term.
That way when the world ends, you can still keep yourself alive by catching fish.
Only slightly morbid. Anything else you want to add?
Be prepared for the zombie apocalypse as well.
Gosh.
Next week, Robin Hood and archery.
Robin Hood's a few weeks away. Well, thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you guys next week. Bye. Oh, and she waved.